Hi, I'm Lillian Clark.
And I'm Heliana Sutton, or Ellie.
And now we're going to talk about the second reading, Spanish at Home, English at School, How Perceptions of Bilingualism Shape Family Language Policies Among Spanish-Speaking Parents of Preschoolers. And this was by Sarah Surain.
And we're going to start off with a summary. So basically, she was interviewing mothers who were immigrants from Spanish-speaking countries, and a lot of the times, most of the time, they were talking about how they wanted their children to learn Spanish and English, and each of the different ways that the children would be learning Spanish kind of varied depending on the mother. But there's one common theme amongst them in that they wanted their children to have more than one language. They felt like it was very important and that it would open many opportunities for them later on in their life, maybe not just for the children, but for the whole family. And some of those opportunities included social opportunities to talk and meet and learn new things and meet new people, but also economic opportunities that would benefit everyone in the family. Another thing that was really prevalent in this article was that the importance of bilingualism in general, and that was also a common theme amongst each of the mothers that were interviewed, and just the importance of that family connection for as they were learning both of the Spanish and English and their cultural identity. And these mothers, they really did not want their children to forget or not have the opportunity to learn both languages, English and Spanish. And they had a fear that if they were to not be fully developed in either of those, that they would just not have as much of a cultural identity.
Yeah, something that I thought was interesting was she said that a lot of the previous research was done on almost like middle class and higher socioeconomic status families who had education, who had stable jobs, and I guess were culturally assimilated, and how their children were developing bilingualism in two different languages. But this study focused more on working class and lower socioeconomic families who might be like a different demographic and show different results in how their children are able to successfully develop these language skills and what challenges they might face. And then between like all the people that she interviewed, there were a couple of different perspectives on bilingualism and their goals with bilingualism between the parents. Some parents really wanted to focus on Spanish retention. They did not want their kids to forget Spanish because they knew that that was going to be a difficulty in the society where it's a kind of like an English dominant schooling structure, English dominant work and social structure within our society. So they wanted to focus on Spanish retention so that their kids didn't forget that language. And then other parents focused more on English acquisition because they felt like they didn't want their kids to be behind the other students. They wanted their kids to be able to catch up and be fully capable of doing all of their school assignments and achieving everything else that their peers would be able to do in school. So those were just kind of two different perspectives that parents had and different goals that they had with these bilingualism goals. And then some of the challenges that they faced were long work hours. A lot of the parents were working because it was a lower socioeconomic status. And then also not wanting to set rigid rules because they understood that translanguaging was important and allowing their children to communicate in whatever form and be whoever they wanted to be was important. So they weren't necessarily passionate about setting super rigid rules.
Now we're going to be talking about the praxis part. And something that I wanted to do and implement into my classroom as a teacher, I would really like to work with the parents to know kind of what their expectations are and to know what their goals are for their children. I think one thing that we can definitely learn from this article is that each parent has a different perspective and has a different viewpoint on what they want their child to learn, what they want their child to be able to do, how they want their child to be taught. And so I would love to really just work hand in hand with each parent or guardian of that child to be able to know what it is that they want to see their child be able to do by the end of the school year. We know that the students are in school and in our care for so many hours on end, and so while they may or may not be getting that extra help at home, there is definitely a lot of help that can be guaranteed in the school. And so that would be done through parent-teacher conferences or emailing back and forth if they can't make it, video calls, different things like that, so that I can really know what they are wanting for their children.
That's awesome. Some of the things that I want to implement is help with some of the challenges that the parents expressed. They said that they didn't feel like they were necessarily prepared to teach literacy in Spanish at home, because of course they could speak to their children in Spanish, but they didn't always know how to help with literacy and other, I guess, more academic skills, which is okay because that's our job as teachers. So I want to make sure that in my classroom I have a focus on that my students are able to develop those literary skills in whatever their home language might be, and they have assignments that support that goal, and that the parents can feel supported in teaching whatever language they speak at home to their children. And they can have my support and help in that. And then I also want to make sure that parents know what types of, I guess, formal language education opportunities are available. At the end of the interview, she said that a lot of the parents weren't even aware that there was a dual immersion program in their area that their kids could go to. They didn't know that that was an option. So I just want to make sure that all of the parents who are part of that demographic in my classroom know that that is an option, and they can make a decision about whether or not that would be best for their student.
Okay, now we're on to the reflection part of this video. And I just really agreed with Sarah in what she shared about just the importance of kind of understanding where each parent and where each family is coming from. One thing that was interesting in the different mothers that she interviewed was not all of them, but there was different places that they came from. And with that, even though they all are Spanish speaking, they each have different cultures and different expectations as well. So I thought that was really interesting, and I just thought overall that this article was very eye-opening.
I agree. It was also eye-opening for me. I think it's important for us to know that there are challenges for multilingual families and immigrant families, but also that parents really do understand that they want their kids to be bilingual. They know that that's a good thing, and that's a goal that they have. So that was kind of eye-opening to see what those challenges might be, and also to recognize that us as teachers and also them as parents, we can align on that goal, that their kids can get the best education that's possible and available to them, and that bilingualism is our goal.